Since the beginning of 2025, every 2 weeks, I've been putting out these videos that show some of the meals that we're making, and it also kind of gives you a sneak peek of what's going on in our lives too. It's a great way to get to know us a little bit better and see how we are staying in our grocery budget. If you're just meeting me, my name is 𝐂𝐻𝐿, and this is the 𝐋𝐈𝐍𝐊𝐄𝐄𝐓 Legacy, where I spend $135 per person per month on groceries, and we have healthy, delicious meals all month. So this video is actually the 15th video in the series that started way back in January 2025. So if you're looking for the playlist and want to see the meals that I'm making through the different seasons of weather and our life, you can go back and check out those videos. But this one is Meals 15, and it starts right in the middle of July on July 14th. These second videos of the month are also my favorite videos because they go from the 2-week to 4-week mark since I've been to the grocery store. So you can really see all of the produce that I still have and how it's still fresh, and I'm using it in my meals before I go grocery shopping the next time. So if you've been following along, right at the end of meals number 14, I was making some Carne Asada, and I had marinated that overnight and it was in the refrigerator. So we are cooking it on this day and had steak tacos for dinner, and I made some avocado crema. I am learning that I can sneak avocados into Mike's diet if I mix it up as avocado ranch or in some kind of dip. He will eat the avocados and have the benefits of avocados, but to give him a slice of avocado, not so much. And to be really honest with what is going on right now, I have reflective sympathetic dystrophy, and I normally don't talk about it very much. We did film a video and put it up on the channel, which is on the channel already, but it's a chronic pain condition, and I've had a major flare-up due to all of the stress that we're going through right now. So for the first time ever, I have pain in this elbow. And when this first started 2 weeks ago, it was so intense. My arm was just kind of hanging at my side and I really couldn't do very much. I am left-handed, so I write and eat with my left hand, but a lot of the things that I do is with my right arm and my right hand. And so it's just been a very difficult 2 weeks. I have been on the couch a lot. I have been using braces and ice and heat and all the things, and even some red light therapy to try to calm down this flare-up that I'm having. But if you want to learn more about the chronic illness that I have, we do have a video up on the channel about this. So we are in the process of moving. We haven't moved yet. It's been a crazy ride, but I am trying to use up all the freezer meals that I have in the freezer so we're not having to move as much stuff when we do move. And so for dinner this night, we had corned beef and hash, and I made that with some corned beef brisket that I had made for St. Patrick's Day and put some away in the freezer, and I just was able to pull that out and it was fully cooked. And then we had some sweet potato hash with that, and we had some cottage cheese. And if you've heard me say before, I don't really like cottage cheese, but I tried to blend it up into things and put it in my diet, then you'll know that I am trying to kind of expand my horizons a little bit too. And I actually ate it whole and not blended up in something. So it was really good to mix the hot and the cold with the corned beef and hash. Normally we have soft boiled eggs with this, but I just didn't feel like making it. On this night, we ended up having some chef salads for dinner, and we used that lemon honey basil vinaigrette that I had made the week prior that was still in the refrigerator and still totally fresh, so it was perfect to have on the salad. We had some hard-boiled eggs with that. There was some lunch meat on it with some cheese, and I love that we keep chopped vegetables all ready to go in the refrigerator, so it's really easy to throw a meal together like this. I did take a picture of these cherries as I was eating a snack, but I wanted to point out the fact that these are over 2 weeks old, going into 3 weeks old when I'm eating them. And when you're getting seasonal produce and following the tips that I share, you're able to stretch out how long you're able to enjoy seasonal produce and not waste any money. I used some ground sausage links and took it out of the casing and then just made it into crumbles and was able to use that with that fresh tortellini that I had in Meals 14 that was still in my refrigerator. I was able to use that up, and I chopped up some asparagus to add with that. There was probably a little bit of spinach and some tomatoes. So on this day, I would say it was a pain level number 10. Like, I couldn't do anything all day long, and we're trying to use up some of those freezer meals, and it was kind of a chilly day outside, so we decided to pull some chili out of the freezer, which kind of sounds funny in the middle of July, but it just worked perfectly for the kind of day that we were having, that we were able to just warm up this chili that I had made that was homemade, and it was really hearty. And just another day of dealing with pain and not being able to do very much, we decided just to have leftovers for dinner. So I ate some of the tortellini, Mike had some of the corned beef and hash, and we were able to just clean out the refrigerator a little bit and not worry about meals so much. On this day, we just had some barbecue chicken and some baked potatoes. I had Mike do the barbecue chicken on the grill, and then I put the baked potatoes into the oven because it was a cold, rainy day and I could do that. So we ended up having those baked potatoes, and then Mike used for the next day some of the potatoes that we had left over and some of that chili that we had left over, and had baked potatoes with chili on it. Chef salads have been kind of our go-to, especially when it's a warmer day, and so we had chef salads again. We always have hard-boiled eggs in the refrigerator. They last about 7 days in the refrigerator, and Mike normally makes those once a week, so those are really great to add to things. And then I normally make some kind of new dressing every week also, and we have a bunch of the different salad dressing recipes on the blog, and we'll make sure to link some of those in the description. I had defrosted some ground beef, and I had Mike make 8 patties out of that to make hamburger patties. So 2 we had for dinner, which he got to cook on the grill, and then the other 6 I put away in the freezer and made sure that they were wrapped in parchment paper so it's easy to pull out what we need at a time. And we always have hamburger buns in the freezer during the summertime, so it's really easy for a meal to just pull out what we need. And with this, we ended up having a stone fruit salad, and it was a great way to use up the nectarines, apricots, some of the cherries, and just mix it all together. And we enjoyed it, and it seemed a little bit different than just having one of the pieces of fruit on the side. So if you've been following this along since the beginning of 2025, we have made a deal with each other that we're trying not to get takeout hardly at all this year. So we went the first 5.5 months of this during a remodel and listing our house without even going through a drive-through at all, and saving all of our takeout money for other kinds of things. But we still have it if we want to use it. And this day was another 10 out of 10 pain day. It's just been a really difficult flare-up for me. And that morning, I saw a social media reel from the Dashleys, and they were talking about pizza. And I had been thinking about pizza all day long. Not pizza that I make, but pizza out of a box. And so we ended up getting pizza out of a box for dinner that night, and it curbed the craving, and it was really easy, and that's what I needed. So we have been trying to cook as much as we can out on the grill and not necessarily smelling up our house at all with meals, because we still are showing our house. Our house has been on the market now for 7 weeks, and it hasn't sold yet, but we are just praying for the perfect buyer and God's timing on this. So while I was chilling out, hanging in the hammock underneath our deck, because that was about all I could do with my arm on this day, Mike grilled up some steaks for dinner, and we had some corn on the cob. And now it has been 23 days since we went to the grocery store. So make sure that when you're bringing home your corn on the cob, you don't pull back the husk to check it out. Just keep it whole and feel at the top to make sure that those kernels are grown all the way to the top, and then put that in your crisper drawer, and you can have fresh corn for weeks. So when we're cooking the corn on the cob on the barbecue, we do soak it in water for a few minutes to get the husk really wet, and then we put it whole with the husk onto the barbecue, and it cooks for a few minutes, and then you remove the husk. So I actually had 2 podcasts that I filmed this week. We just left the microphone all set up here on the countertop, which was kind of funny. We were hoping that we didn't have a showing that night, but when I'm doing a podcast, it's just all the equipment that needs to be in here. It just seems like a studio instead of your kitchen. I did make some breakfast burritos and we had those for a couple days. Normally I will freeze those and put them in the freezer and then pull them out randomly whenever I want them over a course of a couple months. But since we're trying to use up freezer meals, I've been just trying to make breakfast once or twice a week and then have it be big enough that I can eat on it the rest of the week. And for dinner this night, we just pulled that creamy smoked chicken out of the freezer that we had in Meals 14. I had made a big batch of it, so we were able to have this for dinner, and it literally took just a couple minutes of warming up in the Instapot. I set it on a trivet with some water and turned my Instapot on for 5 minutes, and that cooked while we were outside filming Mike's latest video for his YouTube channel. This day we had some chicken drumsticks that I cooked in the Instapot, and then Mike just grilled them for a few minutes just to get the barbecue sauce seared onto them right at the very end. And then we had that fresh watermelon that we bought 4 weeks ago. I had finally cut that up and now it's in the refrigerator. It will stay fresh for about 2 weeks after you cut it, as long as you keep draining the juice off of it in the gallon-sized jar. So we had chicken drumsticks, the watermelon, and I kind of wanted to have either pasta salad or homemade mac and cheese, and I kept going back and forth of which one I wanted to make, and I ended up making homemade mac and cheese just on my stovetop. I had cooked the noodles and then just made a cheesy sauce to put on top of it, and it was delicious. It hit the spot. It was warm and cozy and all of the things that I was craving. I do have a small container of the mac and cheese left that is going to go into the freezer so we can pull it back out maybe next week or the week after and have it another night, but that way we're not eating the pasta 2 days in a row. So now we're at a Saturday. We had a showing at 11, 3, and 6 o'clock. And so it was really hard to be at the house and here for a little while and then leave again. It was just kind of a crazy day. And by the end of the day, we decided just to go out for dinner. And I knew I didn't want to go sit at a restaurant and just stare at each other because it just feels like during these stressful times, it's sometimes hard to come up with conversations. And we decided to go to the Japanese steakhouse for dinner and saw a little show and had dinner, and we had a really great time, and I'm really glad that we went. Okay, this is the last meal that we had when I'm trying to clean out all of the things in the refrigerator. So we ended up having some chicken strips and a chef's salad using the last of the lettuce and the spinach and any of the extra vegetables that I had. There were some radishes that we were able to throw on there and peppers, just any of the little odds and ends I had left in the refrigerator we were putting on the salad with some chicken strips, and then I made some honey mustard dressing. So we are an allergy family, and I have found that there's pretty much no dressings on the shelf that are safe for our family to eat, as we are trying to avoid things like soybean oil. And if I'm able to make the dressings at home, it's so much easier, and most of the dressings will last for a couple weeks in the refrigerator when you're storing them in glass with the metal lid. So we have tons of recipes for dressings. We're going to make sure that we send out some of these recipes in this week's newsletter. If you would like some of these recipe cards, make sure that you're signing up for that, and the link is in the description. And this is my zero waste produce guide that goes through 75 produce items A to Z and how I keep them fresh for weeks. And this is one of the 5 covers of our meal planners, and this is how I keep track of how much I'm spending, how much we're going out to eat, what meals we're making, and the inventory we have in our house. So between these 2 items, we're able to keep our grocery budget under control. These are linked in the description, and there's also a discount code for watching all the way to the end of this video.